We are live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of DESIGNathon. As always, I am excited, but today I am super excited to bring you my friends from the Agentics Foundation. Not only are they friends, but these guys, this group has been my secret weapon for really staying ahead of the game over the last couple years. The level of brilliance and kindness and just building things straight out of the future. I can't say enough about these amazing people and my amazing co-host. Hi, Manaz.
Hi, everyone. So excited for this episode to learn a lot from these guys. And yeah, I'm Manaz, co-host of the DESIGNathon. I'm a product designer working in AI, behavioral design, and human-centered systems. And let's go to our guest and uh, let them introduce themselves. So let's start with Dragon.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dragan Spiridonov. Friends and colleagues call me Profa, short from professor. I'm from Novi Sad, Serbia, and I'm in IT for 30 years. I used to be a computer science teacher and did a lot of different things. 12 years in quality assurance and quality engineering. But last year I joined Agentics Foundation and a new journey started for me. So I'm now Agentics quality engineer, orchestrating fleets of agents to help me surface information about the quality of products.
Thanks, Dragon. Next would be Offer.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. My name is Ofer Shal. I live in Boca Raton, Florida. I've been a software engineer for decades, probably 30 years as well. And then when AI revolution started, instead of having a niche, I can now do so many things. Uh, Last year, I found the Agentics Foundation, which is incredible at taking AI from the hype and actually showing practical ways of doing it. And currently work at phase two, and very happy to be here.
Thanks, Offer. Scott.
Hi, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Scott McMillan. I'm from BC, Canada. So I did my graduate work actually in biomechanics, which is basically physics of how the body works and adapts and moves. That got me into engineering and developing systems, and ended up, doing a lot of sport coaching and fitness, and around sensors and networking type products. But more recently, really software focused, always around data though, personalization, knowledge management, and learning. So I've been applying AI for about 10 years in a variety of products, most recently with a company that we worked with Google on fitness AI applications. And over these last few years then has really drawn me to agentic engineering and just how well and how good it is at accelerating product development and engineering and the quality of those products. So that's what I'm focused on now, developing products with Agentics.
Awesome. Back to Anne.
So just to kind of lay the foundation for everybody listening, when people hear agents, they think sort of chatbots on steroids. We could do a round robin. In your own words, what's the real difference between what Agentics actually is and what people think it is?
Should I start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Agent is really a system that perceives its environment. So it needs to have some kind of sensors as tools to collect the data about its environment. Then it reasons about the tasks it is working on, delivers the tasks, then checks the results and loops. So that's like a simple architecture what an agent is. But agentics, that's orchestrating swarms, fleets, or however we want to call multiple agents working in parallel to reach the common goal, in simplest terms.
Yeah, and I think that's the key for me is that I think of agents as software tools or software systems that you can give them a goal and a specific scope, and then they go march off and get it done, and they do it and report back to you.
Yeah, I think right, the term is so vast. Probably many people don't even know what agent is, but it can be as simple as a chatbot. It can be, I think that agent is what do we let it be? How many skills do we give it? How much independent do we give it? So I've seen so much of with the revolution of AI, we get more and more busy. So one of my goals is how do I get, there's one term called like dark factories of how do I give it enough independent where a human doesn't need to be in a lot of the process details, where agents have enough independent to complete things in a way that when we're getting back, we're like, yes, that is great. And don't have to have an intense back and forth to keep fixing it.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Now, can you all speak to your stack a little bit? What you build, how you build it. I think people are, they see N8N and then they see, something like Cognigy or VoiceFlow or, Claude Code. Yeah, there's just so many options. And now if I wasn't around you guys, I probably would have been led astray and tried 1,000,001 tools. But I've had, like, when I first started building agents 4 years ago, like the enterprise agents I would build would be, the IVR to AI conversions, right? And that's completely different now. And without y'all, I would have really been led astray. So I think it's just really important for you guys to speak to the stack, how you build, and the approach, right? And a little bit about AI assisted coding versus vibe coding too, because that's a whole thing where people are very confused also. So if you can kind of riff on all those ideas, please.
Okay. So let me again start. I started using coding assisted agents more than 2 years ago, but intensively with the surface of Claude Code, I think more than a year ago, somewhere in February last year, Claude Code was released, and I discovered Claude Flow somewhere in June or July last year. So I use Claude Code as a main runner or a coding agent. And then on top of that, I install orchestration layer that used to be Claude Flow. Now it's renamed to RuFlow. And it provides me with agents that I use for planning, research, development, deployment. So tasks that common engineer full stack would use and need when working on developing application using this. But as I come from quality world, I noticed that it was missing some pieces. So that's why I created my agentic quality engineering fleet that I use in combination with RuFlow to do surfacing of quality related information about the product at any phase of developing. So analyzing requirements, are they good enough? Doing the code analysis, test analysis, test generation, and so on and so on. And even when the application is deployed and live in production, monitoring and collecting information about that, integrating in your pipelines, creating quality gates. So there are many options available there. But from my pain, I created myself a tool, and now this tool is started to be used by others to help them, because agents have tendency to do something that I call completion theater. So they will try to finish tasks fast, but it doesn't mean that the fast is really done.
I use it every time I jump into Claude Code for anything. Offer, do you want to have a go? What does your stack look like?
Yes. So it varies, right? Like I started when I think VS Code or Copilot back then was autocomplete, and that was a revolution. And then Cursor became a thing, and nobody else was using it, and that became a thing, and they paved the way for a whole different panel where we've seen IDE, which is the visual way of editing files, being transitioned to the chat with the LLM, with these AI tools, become more prominent. To a year ago, I think it was February, Cloud Code came out, which completely said, actually, you don't need to look at all these files. This is like not even where your focus should be. You should talk to it and see what it does back. And since then, it improved so well. Now, when you talk about a stack, so today, if someone wants the best coding tools, that would be probably Cloud Code, which is Anthropic, and Codex from OpenAI. Both of them have their own personality. But as the Dragon was mentioning, these tools are usually made for, like, especially Cloud Code is like, it's want to satisfy you. It want to come back with a great answer. So by itself, it is an incredible tool. But the harnessing, our ability to tell it, I prefer you spend more minutes in working on it than give me something half-baked or broken. So I'm not a good quality engineer, right? Because I didn't learn that, but Dragon did. And the great thing when we have this open source ecosystem, and I love open source, I've been an advocate for years as well, is Dragon was so kind to create an open source system that now I can add to my stack, to the Cloud Code that I'm using, and all of a sudden my system is 10 times, at least 10 times better at getting the quality that I want from the code that I deliver. So my stack actually is keep changing, right? I'm using Grooveflow as well. These are all add-ons. And what's interesting about these add-ons is also if the hype or the known thing is to go for the big LLMs, right? OpenAI, Anthropic, they create like these expensive and very useful tools. But a tool like Grooveflow bring all of a sudden different techniques that we don't have to use the known big LLMs. We can actually accomplish certain things like memory and understanding with alternative tools that are all running locally and better. So what I enjoy a lot as part of learning in Agentics is the alternative path of, yes, like OpenAI and Anthropic are great for coding, but other additional tools that can enhance the stack, not cost as much, but deliver so much more.
Thank you. Scott, I can't wait to hear what your take is too.
Yeah, I think maybe I have quite a different take, of course, not being as deep in the engineering as Ofer and Dragon. I mean, my experience with coding has been, I took some software engineering courses and things, and that, in my field, we would do scripts for data acquisition and data analysis. So basically tools, right? And never really got into full consumer enterprise applications. But I ended up managing teams, of course, that did that. And so my stack, comes from a product management kind of, I guess, innovation roadmap point of view. So it really starts at the early with Gemini. So doing deep research. So to get to a product requirements document, and then to get to a design kind of constitutional design principles, I call them. And so that's kind of goes into what I was talking about, being able to give agents or systems a scope of, I think the more, certainly we can all do like one-shot prompts and kind of let them freewheel. And that's where I started and see where they would go. But then they drift a lot, right? And they don't know what they're going to end up working on and work on something totally different and stuff. And of course, we have a lot more experience than those agents do and know what we want to do. So it's basically a scoping exercise. And then that brings them through developing like a minimal product, right, to a fully functional, to one in production. And then it fits into those tools that they just, or the stack you just talked about. So I use an IDE, so a place to develop the code. I use anti-gravity. With that, like the other two, Claude Code became the go-to tool. I was trying to do it all in Windsurf and Cursor and just kept getting stuck last year. About December last year, Claude Code really improved. And so having Claude Code in my own development environment allowed me to, build out now. I can build out that full software system that actually works and people can use it. So like them too, RuFlow, grateful of Reuben Cohen's work, and be able to release that in open source. And Dragon, I use Dragon's Agentic QE too. It's a big piece. And we can get into maybe a little more, but basically I end up setting, missions, and then the agents now have that scope and that brief to go and do a mission. And in that mission, a part of the directive is to do an Agentic QA review of, what the plan was, review it, code some, review it. So that's where the QE comes in. It's been really helpful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
10 minutes.
So I wanted to these are all so complicated for me, even though I think that I know at some level about agents and AI. So I just wanted to know how this are they something that comes to my mind is that are agents supposed to be conversational at all, or they can be in different shapes, or how do you control them, or how is the backend works, and what are the different circumstances that will work at the same time to build these agents and these structures.
I would say that, and interestingly, the other guys are thinking I don't know if we would call the orchestrator an agent. I guess in a way it is. So I converse with what I call an orchestrator that is basically Claude Code, the model. So something like Sonnet or Opus model. And I'm talking to that model about, hey, here's what I want to do. Maybe we go back and forth on what that is, or I ask them questions based on, hey, what's the current code like, and that sort of thing. And then, and then we go and launch a swarm from that. But curious what the other two would say.
Go,
Dragon.
No, so definitely Claude Code is an orchestrator agent that I put my intent into. So I'm guiding it into prompting and starting the agents as subtasks. So that's a thing that's happening. Claude as a coding agent, when you're using it to orchestrate multiple agents, it has a feature, subtasks. So it will spawn multiple agents to work in parallel. Each of these agents will have its own context. And Claude Code as an orchestrator, based on the tools that we installed, so some definitions will be there, from RuFlow agents related to planning, coding, research, and from Agentic QE or QE-related agents and skills available for Claude Code to fetch based on the tasks given, and then to put it in the prompt for that specific agent definition. So if it needs to work on code, it will invoke coder as a sub-agent. If it needs to write a test, it will invoke first QE test architect. If it needs to run a test, it will, a test runner. So there are different sub-agents invoked from the main orchestrator to allow parallelization of work. And as these additional frameworks, or RuFlow and Agentic QE Fleet, both have the backend that provides these agents access to a memory or patterns that they are learning as they are working on different tasks. So these agents, as they work, they will learn a specific pattern in, this type of unit test is written in this way. I will, learn this pattern and save it so I can reuse it later. So when you invoke agent, system is set up through hooks to go and fetch the information, look in the database. Is there something related to similar tasks that I can already use as a starting point, not need to invent things if some patterns are already proved well. And we can talk later, how to prove the patterns well, how to grade them differently. And these systems then give so memory and agents working in parallel, but sharing the memory between them as they work. So that's also a difference. And that causes emergent behavior. So if you're using a single agent, it's limited. I would, that's what I'm noticing in a way, or compared to using a single agent compared to running a swarm, different behavior of the agents in the end, and better quality of the end results.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
the things we can look at, or the thing we're very familiar with, is humans and people. And trying to understand agent, if we're comparing it to a human, I think at the beginning, what these LLM provide us is an extremely brilliant mind, very knowledgeable. He knows all the code in the world. It knows about so many things in the code. It can do so much, but it has also a mind of a young child. It's very naive. It doesn't know its own power. It doesn't care much about making a mistake, because it was told to do that in that way, then it would go and do that. Today, a lot of the work we're implementing is harnessing that, is guiding in the right way to achieve the right thing, sometime to have multiple one, and each one is dedicating to a certain type of work. And like mentioned here before, an orchestrator that can run 5 of them and make sure each one is doing what they need to do and bring it all back together. So I think the system we're working on are the system themselves are ongoing getting better. The memory used to be, the Dragon mentioned, way more limited. Now it's better, but still limited compared to the task we have to do. So we're creating so many other kind of techniques and technologies that would help us overcome any limit that we find on the way. So our agent can be as simple as giving us an answer, but they can also coordinate, they can research. Just before this talk, I watched a video from Anthropic of 2 engineers that are saying how for them now, it's less about creating more types of agents, and it's much more about providing them with the right skills, that they would know which skills they need to fetch and what can they do with that skill.
I really
Yeah.
like this example. Thanks, Ofer.
Okay, we
Yeah.
have some questions and a borderline hater. Just kidding, Joseph.
Go,
So-
Scott. Yeah, Scott
Well, you know
wanted-
what? They're I love to dig into it. So Joseph says, why are we comparing scale dot product attention to humans, big hype vibes? The future of agentic is local, encrypted, and private. Well, that's interesting because Dragon and I are planning to do a free class on how to run locally. So let's let the guys dig into that.
I definitely agree that the future of Agentics is local, and that's something that Own Your AI, as Mitko Vasilev on LinkedIn is constantly preaching. And I was trying for months to make my fleet more vendor agnostic and be ready to use local models provided either through Alama or different local tools for running local models. I know we have really some experts or people with vast knowledge in that in community. I would always mention Craftsman. I admire his work. Rishad from India, what he's doing with this model and local models is another league. But small specialized models. That's how I see. And then orchestration of multiple management, or how you want to call them, but orchestrating those specialized agents is how I see this goes in the future, because LLMs are good as a conversational. The way how they are solving the problem, they are trying to solve the whole problem at once. So that's why they are GPU intensive, and the whole system it works in that way that it was intended for helping people write, not write code, but write text, right? So okay, code is a text of its own, so it has its own role, and LLMs were found its most use in the coding world, but big models cost a lot of money and a lot of resources to run, and we need to be also like environment friendly. So these new you need like a whole power plant to run all these new models. All these big companies are working with these current approaches. What Ruven and Agentics, and I'm more on that side, see as a thing is small models, specialized model trained for specific tasks, small, narrow tasks, but you can have a lot of them. You can have 10,000s of them, each of them specialist in a specific task. And then that agent will be invoked when that specialization is needed. So we will have some, let's say, generalists or orchestrators that will organize work of more, smaller specialized agents.
Thanks, Dragon.
I have
And
maybe
one thing I'll just say real quick, this group doesn't hide from anybody. Like people who are like have anything in any direction to speak to about the positive, the good, the bad, and the ugly, come join us. Nobody hides from anybody in this space. Ruven gets so much slack from so many people, and he's like, come talk to me about it, and nobody does. So I invite everybody to come in and hash it out. Like there's no this is a really kind, ethical bunch of people who are trying to do right, but do right can change in definition in a week. So like just come in and let's figure it out together, because the intention is not hurtful from this group at all. And I just wanted to speak to that a little bit, because I see a lot of it on when Ruven posts. There's a lot of haters in the comments, and he welcomes them and they run. So my feeling is come talk it out. We're a loving group of people who just want to kind of get through all this together without any hateful stuff. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I think it's really important to just be open and be kind. Did anybody else want to take that one? Because we have another
Yeah,
question.
Scott, and before going to the comments, because that's the dedicated time for that in the last 15 minutes of our I'll encourage all our audience to add their questions, anything that we want to they want our guests to answer in the comments, and we will answer them in 15 minutes. In the last before we move forward, Scott wanted to mention something for the last question, I think. So
I think it is. So for me, like with the agentic engineering, the harnesses, the orchestration, all what we're talking about, right? It is driving towards efficiency. As you get in, it's kind of mind blowing. Like my mind was blown come January of, hey, I just built a whole data analysis for digital biomarkers based on, running injuries, and it could detect, when somebody's at risk and these sort of things. And something would have taken a team and, months to do, I could do in a few weeks. And so now I want to do more, right? Now I want to do this and do this and do this. So for me, it's driving me, but that gets expensive fast, right? And if I was just using Cloud Code CLI, it'd be super expensive. Putting in then Rooflow, the orchestration type systems, bringing in Agentic QE, that saves tokens because it develops the code the right way the first time versus doing a lot of debugging. And I think a big thing that happens, I guess what happened to me early on with Windsurf and Cursor was it would drift. So parts of the code would basically fragment away from the other parts and they wouldn't work so well. So then you get in these spirals of, hey, this piece isn't working, which now I got to fix this piece. Oh, that broke this, and then that broke this, and that broke this, right? And you're just going in these circles. And I think really now it's matured enough that that doesn't happen anymore. So with the agentic way of doing it, at least the way I've found it. And so that is driving the efficiency, which makes me then want to do it local. So I want to get to local models because I can run a open source free model, right, for a fraction of the cost of doing something in the cloud with Anthropic. So I think it's interesting at the high level what Anthropic and OpenAI will do from a business point of view, because me personally, I'm driven to go local and not use their models so I can do more.
Yeah, I heard Ruben say we won't need Claude for much longer, and I was like, "What? What does that mean?" But I also from
Give us a couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody really did notice the change in, like, we're running out of token by 11 a.m. when we used to be able to go for days, and that prompted me to start posting about like what's the plan B, what's everybody's plan B, and kind of crowdsourcing what everybody's kind of feeling, and everybody has that same feeling. So I don't know if they're pricing themselves out or what's going to happen next. So I would love a little bit of we don't it's 11:30, we have a half hour. I would love a little future casting from each of you.
I would just say we definitely don't know where things are going, because speaking of local versus are we going to use the public ones, I don't know, because I'll give an example. How many of us are using Gmail as a tool? Now, for decades, and I know it, there's email solution you can run locally. It might be even more secure, but once there was a product good enough that you enjoy, that is publicly available, you use it. Even that I think Google is using your data for certain things that maybe you're not so comfortable with, but you somehow decided that it adds up that you would use it. So we're seeing so much advancement. Dragon mentioned, Miko mentioning like you should use your own tools. And he just wrote like how DeepSeek, a Chinese model, just released over 1 trillion token, the most powerful thing ever happened, but he can no longer run it locally. So I think this technology going to change. Things are going to become more efficient, would take less energy. We would have more freedom of choosing, do I want to run it in my office? Do I want to use a public service? It's possible that today's prices are just paying off the research they had to do. It's possible today it's the cost of electricity. There's so much unknown, yet we do see so many actors in these fields keep making things improved, make it smarter, make it more efficient, make it, so the tools keep getting better. If we end up going to use it locally or not, I'm not sure, because we've seen technologies that were possible to do local, but we decide to use the public version of it. But I do think that it's just going to become, the way I see it, better for everyone. Once we have open source LLMs, that means other services can host them we can get incredible quality and pay less for it. So it can go in so many directions, and I'm excited with what's upcoming.
Scott, Dragon, what do you guys want to put on your break out your crystal ball?
Yeah, one thing I think about is that, or I've been saying is, it's I mean, it's certainly, obviously there's transformations, transitions, change management around software development and product development and everything to do with, technology. But with what's available to us, I think I think the leading companies are there already. They're hiring the best people, because I think what happens now, the product's quality, the product velocity, and just the intelligence built into the products increases so much that if you want to keep up, you're going to have really good people to keep up. And so you still need really good UX design. You still need really good, developers, right? So I mean, if you want to try to get engineers who haven't specialized in design to design in something that's core to the product, it's going to struggle against a company that's design focused, right? So I think the quality is just going to improve so much. It becomes much more competitive. So you still need those specializations. So that's kind of the main thing, I think. It's just we're raising the floor here, right? So raising the ceiling, I guess.
Before Dragon goes, I just need to add to that, Scott. I'm starting a series of talks called "Your AI Product Sucks Because You Have No UX Practice." So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
May 15th, New York City. Go ahead, Dragon.
Yeah, I'm thinking in which direction to go with my crystal ball. I'll go more in skills needed for this disruption that we are living right now, because it is a disruption, and we are still trying to find ourselves in it. So maybe this group is a little ahead of curve of the rest. So let's share what will be more important. Human skills, I call those 4 C's. So critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. So, and understanding again, human experience that we want to provide with our software or products, or however that will look in the end, because software is made for people to solve our problems, right? So let's really focus on attention. Are we solving the right problems? Are we doing them secure way? Are we doing them ethically? So with great power comes great responsibility. Thank you, Spider-Man. So definitely we these tools can regular people now can do whatever their imagination that's like becoming like a limit is your imagination. But again, you need to know how to engineer the solution. So it's engineering practice is still really important. Coding, like writing code, that overpriced, let's say, skill is becoming less relevant. But everything else, understanding the product, understanding the quality we want, the value we want to deliver to our users. So that's where the focus should go. And how are we observing that flow? Focuses more on thinking and feeling about it. That I would say.
I'll add
I
empathy
have-
to that as well. That's what
I
humans
think
have, and AI. Yeah, sorry, Offer. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'm thinking a little different, where even that it's painful, and I'm not sure if people would love to hear it, but the way, so before someone I think mentioned, like, why do we compare it to human? And I think because human created it and human is trying to look at nature and create things, right? Birds, airplanes, submarines, right? We copied from nature. And as we're trying to resolve another or solve a new problem, like here, we're creating some kind of mind. Some people think that today's LLM is just a fancy autocomplete. At the same time, people are building things that are trying to achieve real intelligence, whatever that means, real creativity. So even that the main LLMs that are popular today, some people think are limited, I can see how, seeing how fast they became better and better, what is the human aspect of it? Do we need a human aspect in it, or can these tools copy it good enough? There was a series a few years ago. It was called, I think, Everything is a Remix, talking about how, did you actually, this new music that just came out last year, is that really new? Or it was building upon the Beatles and other things and genre. So many different things in movies. I saw yesterday, I think it was Kling 3. A director took that tool and created an unbelievable movie. But today, the creativity is within the director. Could an LLM learn enough of it? Or not LLM, whatever that other thing. So I'm seeing how, while it makes us superpowers, it could make us irrelevant all of a sudden. We don't know where that flip gonna happen. We definitely need to relearn everything we thought we knew, because how things are done are changing every day. Like today, we definitely need to do things differently. Where does it go? Would a computer be able to do all of what humans can do? I think it will, because that, what would stop it from not reaching that and have its own creativity, have its way of creating anything that today we thought we have to have a human for that.
Dragon, you look skeptical.
I'm not skeptical. I'm just concerned that again, great responsibility. We saw that with the mythos. What they, at least, there is a lot of marketing noise into that, but what engineers are saying somewhere on Reddit and things, they cannot explain some of the behavior now of that system and how fast it found all those vulnerabilities in the system that are still, humans still cannot find these things. So we are close to it surpassing us in some aspects, but then, which guardrails are we putting on it? So how are we making sure that there is a switch we can, switch off if it's needed, not to get into the doomsday scenarios of Skynet and other, famous movies things that we grow up with. But, those movies should, teach us maybe a lesson and, really have the switch close by, because, you never know when it will find its way outside of the cage there, now, or whatever container they are keeping it right now.
Scott, do you want to add?
I mean, it is interesting that, the whole conversation. I mean, and when we start to think of sci-fi too, like, are we getting to Star Trek or Star Wars or Dune? What does this look like? I think one thing, being in business, like, business moves slow. So developers, like the development of code, these models and stuff, I think are probably way ahead of what 90% of business is. I think, it's just, I think it's opening a lot of new opportunities, right? I think, and that's the other piece. So I think this unlocks so at the individual level, like what I'm saying is, okay, now I can do things like I can set up my home budget. I can set up a home, like my own local home management system now, right? That I wasn't ever going to pay $100 or $20 a month for some software to do. but now I can do this on my own. Like, so if I can do that on my own as an individual and do my own personal training for my son and these types of things, right, then that just means at a company level, you can do so much more. Then all the things that you couldn't do before, now you can, right? Now you can launch a new division. Now you can go attack this other vertical. Now you can double down on marketing and, you know, with fine tuning your marketing, right? So there's just so much that hasn't been done in the world that I think we're just so many years away from I don't know, getting to a point of worry or getting to where everything is automated, right? So.
Yeah, I find myself a lot thinking, I love this for a solopreneur or a small business, but I don't want an enterprise to have it. Right? They have enough. Right? Like, and I always say, like, you know, when it comes to AI ethics, it's a gradient. Like, it is not that black and white. For some people, it is. It's like, you shouldn't be using LLMs. You shouldn't be touching this. You shouldn't be trying. So it's. I feel everybody's feelings on it is relevant, and important. And it could change tomorrow. It could change in 20 minutes. There was a day that things changed between breakfast and lunch with, I don't know, remember what Anthropic released, like Claude Design. And like, it was like a whole industry supposedly changed between breakfast and lunch. So I think people's the things that people are feeling and there's that really hardcore anti-AI movement, and they still, the extremes get clicks and followers, and I think trying to be sort of down the middle and open and thinking gets less clicks and followers. So there's that whole piece to it also. So I just want to say to everybody, this group is open. Like, we're listening and caring about people and jobs and ethics and all the things, but we're also opting into using the technology. And I think a lot of us feel like we're going to try and create safety from the inside. And I get a lot of hate and pushback, positioning myself as ethical, because apparently, none of it is ethical. And it's just running from something that's going to penetrate into your day-to-day lives. I just don't think is my personal stance on how I want to kind of position myself between the people and the technology. I'm trying to upskill people for free. I'm trying to keep people working. I'm trying to, be a voice of moderation. And some people hate that, and some people just, love extremes. And I don't know where I'm particularly going to wind this up into a little bow by taking questions in the comments. But I think it's important for the crew to have their say on ethics real quick. I think we only have one question anyway, Manas. So can you guys?
We have like some questions,
Okay.
but yeah, let's go with that. Like,
yeah,
we have one,
weave in some
questions.
concerns in the responses, I guess. Then let's
Okay.
Yeah.
Want to answer the questions, or
let's do the questions, and then if we have a couple minutes at the end, we can let the guys chat about ethics a little bit.
Okay. So the first question is from Daniel. Agentic AI is such a fascinating concept, and I have always been curious how it goes hand in hand with vibe coding. Who wants to answer this?
I would. So I think.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys kind of said it earlier, right? I think in developing software, applying critical thinking, engineering systems types approaches gets you into agentic engineering. And I think the agentic part is using agents to do that. Vibe coding, I think there's a lot of software out there you can just have conversations with, and it's I call it freewheeling, right? So then the systems go in freewheel and try to develop what you want. So I think vibe coding gets you so far, when it gets to more complex applications, then I think you have to go to agentic engineering.
I would, maybe add vibe coding for experimentation, fast MVPs. So, to get to some proof of concept really fast. But if you want something maintainable, robust, running in production, then you must engineer it and do step by step. Like, yes, most of it will be done by agents, but human is engineering the agents into doing what they need to do. So, starting with prompt engineering, context engineering, harness engineering, agentic engineering. So, take your steps, but everything is engineering. So, meaning we need to understand the problem, dissolve it into smaller part, and work on solving it. But vibe coding, yes, for experimentation and fast feedback, what can be done.
I think AI is democratizing coding in general. So vibe coding, I feel a lot of the good stuff we're putting on top is trickling down to any beginner level that, if that's what we're coding, vibe coding, would come with more and more harnesses, right? Like imagine the QE fleet come by default to a vibe coding app, right? That means that the vibe coding itself now is using agentic techniques, but it become part of the default. So the way I see it is the beginner level of vibe coding would just become better and better as we go, because it will bring down all the higher levels of sophistication of agentics into where everybody starts.
Yeah, and I think there's vibe coding as a term, and then AI assisted development as a term. And if you go into my featured section, there's content in there that explains the differences. Next question, Manaz.
So next is from Orlando. As a UX designer exploring the Flow integration within Cloud Code, I'm curious about the group's best practice for token efficiency. I'm currently on the Pro plan. How are you balancing high detail agentic workflows without hitting the context ceiling too early?
Let me jump in there first. Pro plan is limited on purpose. Okay, I'm a max plan user, but Flow and Agentic QA Fleet both have hybrid routers implemented into them. You can enable them, and what they will do, they will distribute tasks of different complexity to different models. So tasks of, let's say, simpler tasks will go to cheaper models or Haiko, faster models. Then medium level tasks to Sonnet, and only higher complexity tasks will go to Opus. And that happens automatically. There is like a feature, Tiny Dancer, that does that automatically when allocating tasks for agents based again on the complexity of the task. That's one way of saving tokens, because it doesn't use latest model and strongest model for each of the subtasks that it runs.
Lando is part of Agentics community. He's taking all of the classes, so he's learning. Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think this is a problem that should take more of our focus. But a lot of us I'm in the max. I'll deal with what I need to, and later we'll deal with that. But in the meantime, there are many best practices for token efficiency. RTK is a package that should solve that. I've seen this like a caveman,
yeah,
that to limit. So there's different ways, and I think Dragon's way is the one he mentioned, is simply understanding the strength of different LLMs. As we mentioned also before, some of them can even be local LLMs. So certain tasks can be done on my machine paying no tokens outside, but it is creating a little more sophisticated setup that allow you to use the expensive token for what they needed, while it can do so much more without paying tokens outside.
Yeah. And so, yeah, going back kind of at higher level, I was talking to about before. So, like, I'll do a lot of my design and research type work with like a Gemini on a free plan or that sort of thing, or a plan I have for the house. And to like nailing down that design and research then leads me again to that PRD. And I don't do a PRD every iteration, every sprint, if you like, or every mission. But I do have more a canonical PRD, so that governs the whole software, and keeps me aligned as much as I think a lot of these. I think that's a piece we're talking a lot about what the agents need or software needs, but I think is if you're engineering your solution, you need a roadmap to keep reminding yourself on what the direction is and that sort of thing, and to work with the system well. And so I think then that gets to then implementing like with the Rooflow or Cloudflow. I think one of the biggest things in it is the ADRs and DDDs. So ADR is architectural design record. And so that you definitely want to take advantage of those. I think that's probably saved me the most tokens, is it keeps the code online and not, starting a new architecture when we've already settled on an architecture for one system. And memory is another way. So there's memory database built in, as well as those types of features. And then there's a bunch of best practices too, which we would need a couple hours to go through. But
we'll do a class, Scott. We'll do a class.
Yeah, there you go.
But I don't think anybody has ever mentioned ADRs outside of the Agentics. I don't even think most people know what an ADR is. Want to just give a quick definition?
Yeah, I mean, architectural decision record, I believe is correct.
Architectural decision records.
Decision
ADR,
record, exactly.
And DDD is design-driven development. Yeah.
Domain, you guys are giving away all the secrets there. I mean, there should be hundreds of people listening to this podcast today. This is you're giving away the gold.
Yeah, so that is the goal.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, it's like having a ledger or like a business decision, record. So these are architectural decisions that you don't want to change, or if you're going to change, like it's a major decision to change. A piece of your architecture is going to take time to redo. So these become cemented, but you have to remember when you're using like Cloud Code and the models or the agents, right? They don't necessarily, they're starting fresh every time you start a new session, right? They don't know anything until you tell it something. So that's what these ADRs do. If you reference them, it tells them, hey, this is our architecture, or the domains, the boundaries, right? You have those design boundaries, right, to stay within. So that gives them the scope of that task at hand.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
You want to take
the last question? Yeah. Francis said, why are your thoughts on orgs cutting down on AQs, using AI, removing the human efficiency? With varying software products, would you have to build an agent in each time, being local and encrypted, or org-wide?
So for those QA related questions, so I will try to answer it. I noticed that trend, but I will now be like a fortune teller or a future teller. I expect them in 6 months to start hiring back. So QAs are the most important people right now in most of these companies, unless you have other engineers that are quality-oriented persons. So those companies that are cutting down on QAs will, in 6 months, will probably start hiring back.
And I hope they start doing user testing again and hiring UX researchers again, because
you can notice that these things, as quality of products will decline as they lose these type of persons in their teams.
Yeah.
And then they will start losing money because they will start losing users, customers, and so on and so on. But
yeah, I'm consistently saying over and over, we should be experiencing magic by now. And the fact that we're not is a failure of leadership. And the failure of leadership is putting these teams together wrong. Period. I say it everywhere, all the time. We can see it. Things have gotten worse. Like in the voice space, I see people asking for the old IVRs back because at least it was they knew what to expect in its shortcomings versus now. And so many of the AI phone agents, there's just so many things that go wrong so quickly. I experienced several over the weekend, which is great for me because it's lead generation. I reach out to them and say, hey, you need a consultant. You need to work this differently. But it's really in the forming of the teams. No UX research, no user testing. It's just, I hope it all comes roaring back, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's got to. I think the companies that are doing it right are going to have a huge head start and create such a big gap on their competition and then the companies that are just trying to be efficient on costs and streamline are going to be so far behind. You need to invest in understanding this technology, and you need specialists, the UX people to understand it. You need the QA people to understand it. You can't have one engineer manage engineering, QA, design, like it. I mean, I do it to an extent, and it slows me down, right? Like a company can't go as slow as a one person, bottleneck, right? So you need all these people to understand and use it and bring it together.
I think the problem too is everybody, it's always about next quarter. It's never about the long game. Like to me, it's like spend it now, save it later. This is an old concept. But when everything's about the next quarter, and this is the failure of leadership that I keep going on and on and on about, because people blame the technology, people blame everything else except for these decisions being made. Dragon, you're laughing. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I totally agree with you. That's that again a people problem, and not understanding how to use this to amplify and remove the bottlenecks, but you're removing the people from the equation, and that's something that in QA world, that was something that we saw when the automation tools first started popping up 20 years ago. And okay, now UI automation, we don't need any more manual testers because we are magically can automate our UI tests. And those again companies that fired those testers hired them 3 to 6 months later because they noticed that they cannot maintain their UI tests are not enough. So we can talk about checks we can automate and the testing that we must done, thinking, evaluating, exploring, feeling, your feelings that you are while you are using the product. So those are like human experience side. That's a thing, and I call those quality-oriented persons in any team. So whoever, which title you want to put on them doesn't matter, but that's something that's important.
Exactly. I think like with every new technology, it comes like first like a wave of ignoring like the experience, and then when it comes like settle down a little bit, it comes like more focus on the experience level and how it gives like the feeling and everything else. Like the internet first comes, like you couldn't like see website this beautiful that we have right now and like these experience that we are doing on the website. It was like all text, gray, harsh looking.
I mean, the other way to think about this too is like in a business, if you're creating a moat or differentiation, and if no longer it's writing code or getting code done, then what's your moat, right? Like everybody, there's so much open source talking about the future. So like what used to only be in the big companies, being able to do voice translation, right? Or fingerprinting, making fingerprints of documents and things like this, what only used to be and what bigger companies can invest and develop is now with open source and these tools, it's available to anybody, right? So it's things are moving fast and it's an exciting world.
Yeah, good customer service is never bad. Sorry, Offer.
Now, talking to us as engineers, maybe these decisions are made because engineers are not being consulted, meaning understanding how these tools work, what is needed, as opposed to just look in general at numbers and understand, maybe it's driven by the hype of, hey, AI will do everything, maybe in the future, today, not yet. So, talking to the engineers, I think, is more important than ever, that understand the technology better, its limits, which is also extremely important, and make decisions based on reality as opposed to hopes or dreams.
Yeah, and I think your differentiation also becomes the design, right? And that product market distribution fit. So more so than, everybody will have good access to technology to do what they want. So it really comes down to like, are you nailing, what the user wants and delivering it in an efficient, beautiful, wonderful, amazing way, right? And that's all what design. So sorry to harp on design, but I think it's important.
No, that's where my roots are. That's where Manaz's roots are. That's where a lot of my content, my followers are. That's the space, and they've been decimated work-wise. So that's why quick plug. That's why I started voiceofai.io to help designers upskill to continue to work, because the design skills, the foundational skills, I think will always be the same, but the skills on what we're building, right? We're building AI products, not using AI to build old school products, and I think that gets lost in translation a lot with design. So building for voice, chat, vision, all that stuff, it's different. It's a different skill set, but your foundational skill set needs to be there also. That's why I get so annoyed by that AI native term, because to me it sort of devalues that foundational UX design practice, where I think the UI design practice is changing drastically, right? Adaptive UI is coming, and voice is taking over some, and that it's all evolving. And I think design is sort of the heart of the whole thing. So I think it's important to speak to it.
I know where it goes, but like the time is over. We are 5 minutes, 6 minutes past the time. Yeah.
I will say, so Agentics.org, there's a free tier, and every Friday there's a hackerspace. So if you have questions and want to show off what you're building, that Friday afternoon AI hackerspace, I think I've been going for at least a year now, has changed everything I do, all the way I think, and it's because this is 3 members out of how many members are there? Thousands at this point. Chapters all over the world. If you're a hater, all the more reason I want you to come. Like, come and get it out there. Nobody's hiding from you. Nobody, bring it. Let's talk it through. There's no.
We're hugging our haters. Don't worry.
We love haters.
Yeah. There's no reason to be hostile. We're all trying to get to we're all trying to find our way. So leave the hostility at the door. Bring the curiosity. Thank you. And let's get through this together. That's my vibe. Anybody have anything they want to share or plug real quick before we head out?
I think Dragon wanted to promote some upcoming events that he is having. Quality Forge. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
My blog, forge-quality.dev. I'm sharing my war stories there. If somebody is in Europe in beginning of June, first week of the June, come to Budapest. It will not only be me from Agentics Foundation. Ruben will be there, Rob Ronson will be there, Nick Ruiz, and probably a lot of the people already from Agentics Foundation from Europe said they are coming. So we will meet in Budapest first week of June. So a crafts conference, maybe I can also, you can share the link.
Yeah, I'll share the links later in the comments so everyone can.
A lot of other events and conferences, but that one I would recommend to everybody to join.
Awesome. Offer, Scott, do you have anything upcoming?
Yeah, we have May 8th is the first inaugural meetup of South Florida, Agentics Foundation, South Florida. We'd love to have everybody. I'll try to share a link as well. We have a Luma link, and yeah, we're excited to bring it in person to South Florida.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm just happy to connect and network with people. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat.
All right.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you
you
all
all.
so much. This was really enlightening and I think really helpful. And just know down the road, I am going to be doing as many free classes and partnering with as many of my friends from the foundation to help everybody kind of from very beginner to super advanced. I love partnering with these people. They're such a good group. And I'm going to just quick voiceofai.io. And our next DESIGNathon is the last Saturday of every month. And hopefully we'll see you at the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.